We were able to obtain some physical evidence and through some analysis of some of the evidence, in all honesty, some written evidence, we were able to develop a person of interest. Once we reached that person and interviewed them, ultimately they led us to where we've recovered Elizabeth's body. We're not going to have a lot to add to it at this time. Profound number of resources, both from volunteers that have been here, the VFW, the American Red Cross, but in addition, our brothers firefighters, as well as the Highway Patrol, the FBI, Fairfield City Police Department, and certainly the Office of Sheriff. We're not going to be able to expand a great deal on it, other than to tell you that the person that led us to this is also a juvenile.
As you have just heard from Missouri investigators, a heartbreaking end in the search for 9-year-old Elizabeth Olten. Just like 7-year-old North Florida girl Summer Thompson, little Elizabeth vanishes, walking alone just a short distance from her own home, and she never makes it. Moments ago, police find the 9-year-old's body. I'm Jean Casares of the Legal Network in session in for Nancy Grace tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to bring you the very latest developments in the search for Summer Thompson's killer in just a moment. But first, let us go straight out to Ladd Egan, news director and anchor with CNN affiliate KRCG, for more on this breaking news. Ladd, what have you learned?
Hi, Jean. Well, it is heartbreak here in the capital city of Missouri tonight. I just got off the phone with the sheriff who you were listening to just a moment ago, and he tells me some interesting facts about how they actually came to find the body of 9-year-old Elizabeth Olten. He said that they received a handwritten note, and he wouldn't elaborate on if someone brought it to them or if they found it, and he said that note led them to find this juvenile who's a person of interest, and then it was that juvenile who led them to the body out in the woods.
And where was the body found? I mean, out in the woods where?
He said that it is near the home, but we're talking about a square-mile radius that they were searching, and they knew to search in this area because she had a cell phone on her, and AT&T was able to triangulate its location. So he said it was within the search area that they'd been in for the past day. They even said they went over this area twice and didn't come across the body until this juvenile led them to the body.
And this is breaking news coming into the newsroom right now. A precious little elementary school student, 9 years old, Elizabeth Olten. She had visited a friend. She was walking home very close to where her friend was. It was about 6:15 in the evening, Wednesday night. She never made it home, and her body has just been discovered. Matt Zarrell, Nancy Grace, producer, you've been on this story from the beginning. What more can you tell us?
Well, what we know about the juvenile is that he is older. He's older than Elizabeth, and he is also an acquaintance of Elizabeth. Apparently, Elizabeth knew this person. We also do not know if it's a boy or a girl, and we do not know if they're going to be charged, and if they will be charged, will they be charged as an adult?
But Matt Zarrell, we also know that this person of interest, he's in custody. He or she is in custody tonight, correct?
Yes, he is. Yes, this person is, and they did lead them to the body of Elizabeth.
All right, one other question. Was an Amber Alert ever called out in this case for this little elementary school student that went missing?
No, an Amber Alert was never issued, Jean.
All right, let us go out to Pat Brown, criminal profiler and author of Killing for Sport. You know, Pat, we heard about this case when it happened. This little girl in Missouri, 9 years old, went missing, didn't come home. Authorities said, no, we're not going to call out an Amber Alert because we have no evidence of foul play. You know, kids go into the woods and they play, and we just aren't sure about anything. Well, this was 6:15 at night. She was 9 years old, not 19 years old, but 9. What do you make of all of this, Pat?
You know, Jean, it always sounds bad. I mean, if you're not a police officer, you say, oh, how could they do that? Why didn't they rush right out to do something? But the fact is, they get so many of these calls, and the children do show up, you know, an hour or two later. Oh, I was at my friend's house. Oh, I didn't call you, Mom. I went to the store. I was playing. They get this so often, they cannot call it an Amber Alert every single time. And the other horrifying fact is, when these children are indeed attacked or abducted, they usually are dead within 30 minutes to an hour. So by the time the Amber Alert goes out, almost always, except for those really, really rare cases, the child is already dead, which is really unfortunate. And so therefore, you have to really decide what you're going to do about those Amber Alerts. I would like to do this. I would like to say to the parent, we'll put out an Amber Alert, but if your child shows up, you pay for it. I think that's a great response to that.
March to your legislator. That is a very good idea. To David Posey, Dr. David Posey, medical examiner, forensic pathologist of Glen Oaks Pathology in Los Angeles, California. They just found this little girl's body in the woods. Can you just describe for us forensically what will now happen as her body proceeds to the medical examiner's office?
Yes, Gene, the first thing that'll happen is the scene will be obviously cordoned off, and the police and the medical investigators from the coroner's office will glean as much data and as much evidence as they can. The body will then be sealed in a bag with a tag on it, so they will be able to identify this body with that bag. It'll be taken to the coroner's office, where it'll be put in refrigeration and kept refrigerated until the time of the autopsy, which is a standard procedure that's done on all cases such as this.
Once again, everybody, breaking news. A little body was just found of this precious little beautiful girl posing in that photo with a telephone. You can tell she had a personality. Out to the lawyer, Susan Moss, family law attorney, child advocate out of New York. Ray Giudice, defense attorney out of Chicago. Tamara Holder, defense attorney out of Chicago, Illinois. First of all, to Susan Moss, there is a person of interest in custody tonight. He is a juvenile. They say he was an acquaintance of this little girl. What does that tell you?
What it tells me is that this wasn't a game of hide and go seek gone wrong, that this was actually something ridiculously more serious than that. The fact that this juvenile didn't immediately call in and say that there was an accident leads me to think that this was something way more nefarious than that. That we're going to be looking at some very, very serious charges, and depending upon how old this juvenile is, we'll see if he's charged or she's charged as an adult.
Exactly, and that's my next question to Ray Giudice, defense attorney. They're saying this person of interest in custody is a bit older than 9-year-old Elizabeth.
That's a close call, Gene. It's a very much of a sliding scale in juvenile law. The closer that young person is to 9 and farther away from the 16 as juvenile court restrictions are, then you're going to have it treated as a juvenile court case. The closer that child is to 16, 17, then you're highly likely to have that person treated as an adult if, and that's a big if, there are criminal charges.
What does it say to you, Tamara Holder, defense attorney out of Chicago? They are calling this person a person of interest. They're not labeling him or her as a suspect. It merely could be someone that is an accessory after the fact, that has knowledge that may not be the real perpetrator in all of this.
I don't think so. I think that they knew that this kid was the perpetrator right away. I don't believe that there's something called a person of interest. It's a fake term for suspect. They knew this was the kid right away. They went in for him. They talked to him. They got a confession, I assume. They led him, or he led them to the body, and they have the guy. Fortunately, it was just 2 days later, so the evidence and the confession are preserved.
Back to Lad Egan, news director, anchor, CNN affiliate KRCG. This is a little girl. She's 9 years old, Lad. What do you know about her? Tell us about her. What grade was she in? What was she like?
She is a 4th grader, and there's an elementary school that was just built near her home, and we've talked with the school as well, and there is heartache. This is the news that no one wanted. We've talked with relatives. They say that she was shy, but at the same time outgoing, especially around the family and with her nieces and nephews, that she was really just a joy. And it's been tragic. And when they look at just those 4 houses that she had to walk by in order to get to her home from her friend's home, twilight, Wednesday evening, just people can't believe that this happened.
Lad Egan, is it true that volunteers wanted to take their time to help search for this little girl and they were turned away?
Yes, and there's been some outrage about that, and I got clarification from the sheriff today. Yesterday, Thursday, this is, still 12 hours after she went missing, hundreds were showing up at the command post to volunteer. And they got around 200 that were there actively searching, and the sheriff decided they didn't need any more, because, remember, they had defined it to this smaller area because of the cell phone. And so they weren't broadening out the search at that time. And so, yes, some people were sent away, and people were upset about that. And But at the same time, the sheriff said everyone was wearing GPS locators on them, so they were seeing on a map what area they were covering. And they said they covered that area twice, which makes me wonder, was